This video is sponsored by Surfshark. So I have this very interesting problem on my hands, if I can call it that, and it's about my drink consumption. Actually, let me show you something first. If you watched my last video, you know I love sparkling water, but that love, it comes with a dark side. And that dark side is this little fridge in my studio that I always keep stocked with soft drinks. Most of them carbonated, of course. And yeah, I'll admit, I'll sometimes just crave a good old sugary, fizzy soda. And in particular, I think it's hard to beat the nostalgic flavor of an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Let's come back up. Don't get me wrong, I know this stuff isn't exactly healthy, right? Like, I'm in my 30s now, so I consider soda a rare treat these days, or at least I should. But that's exactly what made me wonder, shouldn't a treat be a little more special? Like, I make everything from scratch, so why is my little fridge not filled with cola, Fanta and Sprite that I made myself? A craft soda pop, if you will. Well, challenge accepted. This is something I wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. Make my own cola, and not just the drink, but the full package. Becoming the brand, so to speak, which means that before we even get to making drinks, there are a few things we need to prepare, and I always come prepared. The centerpiece of this entire production is gonna be this, bottles. I spent a long time choosing the right kind of bottle. I wanted something that looks cool and unique, which this I think definitely does. Like, check out the shape. It's almost like a little wine bottle, if you will. And also the color. It's dark, which I think just looks badass. What you might realize though is that this bottle has no cap. Well, not yet. Here we have bottle caps in 3 different colors because we want to make 3 types of drinks. To get these caps on the actual bottle, you are going to need a device which is called a bottle capper. Surprise, it kind of works like this. I don't know, it needs a little bit of practice, but once you get it down, it's actually pretty simple. And yeah, there's nothing in it, but like, this is actually like... Then for carbonation, we are going to need a carbonation device. For me, it's my trusty SodaStream, not sponsored, but it's good stuff. And then last but not least, we eventually want to slap some labels on these bottles. And for that, we are going to need labels. This is just one giant label that I can stick on anything and also print things on this before I stick it on anything. We're gonna get back to all of these devices when the time has come, but first, let's actually brew our craft sodas. Good news first, this whole thing really isn't that difficult. We're gonna be using the same production technique the Coca-Cola method uses, which is making a concentrated flavored syrup and then mixing that with carbonated water. Very conveniently, if we wanna make all 3 of these, we can actually work our way up to cola, which is the trickiest one of the bunch. But from each one of these, we can learn a different technique of, how to make craft soda at home. And the easiest one to start with is gonna be Sprite. That was a nice hiss. First thing we notice is it's crystal clear in color. It smells extremely citrusy. Oh yeah, ooh. Definitely also tastes the way it smells, and no surprises here, it's advertised as lemon lime soda, which it is. I would say this is almost fake citrusy. Like, this doesn't even have anything to do with lemon juice anymore. This is just like almost like dishwashing detergent or something. But that is exactly what makes it a perfect first lesson. So to make Sprite, our flavor will unsurprisingly come from lemons and limes. We're gonna have to dissolve them into something, right? And that something will be a very sweet syrup made from a whole lot of sugar and a bit of water. What did you expect, guys? Now let's talk about that citrus flavor. Remember how Sprite tasted almost fake citrusy? Well, we can get that same effect if we only use the zest of these fruits, not the juice. The juice would make some great lemonade, but that's not Sprite. The right tool for the job is gonna be a zest zester, but I need to admit something. Zesting citrus is like my least favorite technique in the kitchen. I cut my fingers more times than I can count, which is why I'll be wearing an actual Kevlar glove, normally used by butchers. If you know a safer technique, please let everyone know in the comments. All I can say is try to get as much of the colored part of the zest and as little of the bitter white pith as possible. And even though we're not using them, be sure to keep the zested lemons and limes for some other dish. They're full of delicious juice. Oh, and of course, be sure all the citrus you use is organic and the peel is safe to consume. They're usually going to be labeled that way. These little limes are even worse than lemons, oh my god. But the delicious citrusy smell makes it all worth it. Once this incredibly fragrant syrup comes up to a simmer, turn it off, time to season the syrup. You see, we only used the lemon and lime zest, which means there is zero actual acidity in our syrup. We're gonna fix that by using citric acid, which is widely available. The advantage of citric acid is it's easy to use and measure, it has no color, and it also gives your soda a sort of noticeably industrial acidity in a good way, if that makes sense. Lastly, we want to strain our syrup into a bottle and squeeze out every last drop of that delicious zesty juice, of course. Congratulations, we got ourselves Sprite syrup. Be sure to handle your syrup bottles with care. They're very hot and they take a long time to cool down, but this is almost ready to go. But before we start actually bottling homemade Sprite, let's move to level 2, which is Fanta. Let's sample it first so we know exactly what we're dealing with. Oh, very different smell right away. It's a little bit opaque and of course, well, it's yellow. That's weird. I remembered it being more orange. I think Fanta should be orange and not yellow. Because after all, yes, it's orange soda. Right off the bat, this is, a lot closer to orange juice than Sprite is to lemon juice. I'm speaking in relative terms, of course. It's still a soda, but I think you can taste its humble beginnings as orange juice. Very different from Sprite, and unsurprisingly, if we want to make this, we gotta change our approach just a little bit. First of all, we're gonna be using different citruses. Oh my god, citrus is the new octopus. Anyway, we're using 3 organic oranges and 2 tangerines. Very different in taste, and I love them in Fanta. Tangerine Fanta has always been my favorite. This time I'm gonna be adding sugar into my cold pan first, and then into that I'm zesting all the oranges, which is still not fun. This time, however, we are also going to be using the juice from these fruits. So get yourself some kind of juicer, or even a fork will do, and get all that fresh juice out of your fruits, both the oranges and the tangerines, of course, which we're not zesting. They're not great for that, and also I wasn't actually sure if they're organic. I accidentally actually came out at just about as much liquid as I needed, but you can just drink some of it or top it up with a little bit of water if needed. The exact amounts are in the video description as always. We're gonna stir that into our sugar and zest and then let everything come up to a simmer once again to make a delicious orange syrup. You might notice that the color is a little bit on the pale side, actually a lot. That's what happens when we use natural products. Don't forget that this will get diluted even further with a ton of water later on, so to make sure we get a bit more of that sort of bright Fanta color, I'm also going to be using a little bit of red food coloring before seasoning it once again with citric acid. And what can I say, this is some straight out of Chernobyl looking syrup, but hey, I'll take it because it actually smells absolutely fantastic. Homemade Fanta syrup, which I am very, very excited about. That brings us a good step closer to our goal, but we still have the holy grail ahead of us. Coca-Cola, the trickiest recipe of the bunch, and we're gonna get to that after a quick word from this video's sponsor, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN service, which means it keeps you and your data safe by encrypting everything you send through the internet. That alone is a great reason to use Surfshark. I always make sure to have it on when I'm entering personal data or I don't want creepy ads tracking me all over the internet. But you want to know another great reason to use Surfshark? I recently wanted to watch the TV show Manifest, which is on Netflix, only not where I live. If there was only something I could do, well, with Surfshark, there is. All I gotta do is pull up Surfshark's list of servers and they got them all around the world. Now refresh and boom, there it is, Manifest, available for me to stream in glorious HD. A VPN really is a great tool to have on hand for all sorts of reasons, but don't take my word for it. Try it. Right now, Surfshark has a great deal going on. By using my code in the video description and the promo code Andong, you are gonna get 83% off. On top of that, you are gonna get 3 whole months for free, and as if that was not enough, there's even a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you try it and you don't like it, simply cancel your subscription and you're gonna get that money back so you can buy yourself, I don't know, I guess a glorious can of Sprite or something. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring this video. Let me start this with a little question. What the hell even is cola in terms of taste? It's just cola. This question led me down a huge rabbit hole, but fortunately there are a lot of great people on YouTube and outside of YouTube who have done some fantastic work in trying to recreate Coca-Cola. My favorite content on that was probably from Glenn and Friends Cooking. He went super in depth as he does, and I'll definitely link that below if you're interested. I can try to give you a short answer though, which is that the flavor of Coca-Cola is mostly made up of a mix of different citrus fruits, which we are very familiar with, but we don't really recognize them because on top of them there's this whole bouquet of actually like mostly pretty common spices such as cinnamon and stuff, but they're used in such tiny amounts that we don't recognize them individually either. So it's basically a mix of citrus, but it has its edge taken off by a spice mix. And then of course everything is further obscured by this mysterious brown color, which takes away the last hint we humans have as to what this is, and that's kind of why I think we just perceive this as cola. That's what it is. So most of those hardcore people that I've researched that have tried to recreate cola, they have been using essential oils, aroma oils, to get to the flavor you like, which makes some sense because yes, there's all that control and they're very intense in flavor, but it's not really my style because A, they're very difficult to get, some of them are expensive, and then B, to dilute oil into a water-based thing is actually, you know, it requires some special ingredients and techniques, and that's just, you know, I decided to go a different route, which is the route that we've been going for the entirety of this video, which is keeping it natural. I like for things to stay nice and approachable, so let's see what we can do with the basic stuff. Well, mostly basic stuff. First, we have another mix of citrus that I suppose I will have to give one final round of zesting. And then we have a spice mix consisting of fresh nutmeg, fresh cassia bark or cassia bark, which is similar to cinnamon, and then a little handful of coriander seeds, which do indeed have a citrus-like note. Most recipes were actually calling for floral notes like lavender, which I couldn't find, but I think a tiny sprinkle of dried rosemary could actually do the trick. We're also going to use caramel color to get our Coke nice and dark. This stuff is one of the most common food colorings in the world, and it's widely available. It also has some of that mildly bitter caramel taste. The rest is made from the usual suspects: sugar, water, citric acid. I'm gonna first crack open my nutmeg nut. We're gonna keep about a fifth maybe, and mix that with the other spices and grind those into a coarse powder. Smells fantastic, by the way. Now into our saucepan, we're gonna be adding our sugar and yes, zesting all of our citrus. I don't want to talk about it. Adding our water, and once it has come up to a boil, I smelled it and decided that it was still not like spiced enough. It was too citrusy. So I added a little more cinnamon powder and the tiniest bit of ground clove. Then we're adding our caramel color, citric acid, and after one final mix, it is time to bottle up our final syrup, cola syrup. What a beautiful, rich color. So now, with all our syrups ready to go, it's time to mass produce some soda. No big deal. So step one is of course a logo. I fired up Photoshop and came up with a simple design that should fit on my bottles. At least I hope so. I wanted it to resemble the official designs by Coca-Cola, but still, you know, have its individual touch. I copy pasted my logos to fill an A4 sheet, which I then printed on that sticker paper and somewhat sloppily cut out the shapes one by one. I'm not very good at this. These are ready to go now, but there's something we need to do first, and that is actually filling our bottles. According to my calculations, the syrup should work well on a 1:10 ratio. So I'm adding 30 grams of syrup and topping that with 300 grams of freshly carbonated water from my soda stream. The more carbonation, the better. Then we of course have to seal our bottles, which is actually not as easy as you'd think with a low-tech device like this, but I made it work. Last but not least, stick on our home printed labels, and I finally have a lineup of DIY soft drinks to fill my fridge with. The big question, of course, is how do they taste, and that we are certainly about to find out. Let's start with Sprite. right? That's appropriate. I'm actually really curious to see if there is a hiss. I'm a little worried that the carbonation might have disappeared. There's been a hiss. Oh yeah, oh yeah. The one regret I have, I love the bottles I picked, but the one regret I have is I probably should have gone with translucent glass bottles. I wish you could see this. I wish I could see this. One ice cube, and now homemade Sprite. Look at that. It really is crystal clear, just like Sprite. So visually, I think we nailed it by having it look like carbonated water, essentially. I like it a lot. It's very close to Sprite, like really close. It's actually, let's do side by side. This is so much sweeter. Like, this is unpleasantly sweet next to this. Okay, side by side, I understand I should have used a little less lime and a little more lemon, but other than that, this is pretty much the same drink, except this one tastes like there's twice as much syrup and sugar in it. That just goes to show that you really don't need this much sugar. Like half is gonna do. This is good. This is good. This is better than Sprite for sure, and it was ridiculously easy to make. I guess I have to give it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 it is. Oh my god, this worked so well. And I can even put the cap back on. Next up, Fanta. First, is there a hiss? Nice hiss. Oh! Okay. I am excited for this Fanta. I think this is actually much closer to the color I think Fanta should have. So far, so good. Let's try this. Cheers. It's amazing. 100% right call to be adding tangerine into this. Tangerine just makes Fanta better, you guys. It's not a secret anymore. Oh my god, this is so refreshing. So delicious. And it actually really tastes like Fanta. I am so surprised that this worked so well. Real Fanta. It is so disturbing how sweet. If there's one thing we're learning from this, guys, newsflash, there's a lot of sugar in soft drinks. What's up with that? This is so much more pleasant and it's plenty sweet. This Fanta is also getting a 10 out of 10 because it, again, beats the original thing. Tangerine Fanta for the win. After these two huge successes with Sprite and Fanta, I'm not sure the Coke will be able to live up to the hype. Let's find out. Nice hiss. Actually does smell cola-like. A little bit different, but also kind of cola-like. Interesting. We nailed the color. We nailed the color. Oh my god. This is like really dark, but not completely pitch black. That's exactly what I wanted. Let's just go for it. Here's the thing. It definitely tastes good. It tastes really good, actually. But it does not taste like Coca-Cola. I think it's recognizable as a cola. It's one drink from the cola family, but it doesn't taste like Coca-Cola. I guess if you really want to recreate the original, maybe you do have to go the professional route and use all those aroma oils and stuff like that. But if you're just interested in having fun in the kitchen and making a drink that is reminiscent of cola for sure, then this is totally acceptable and fun. But I gotta be fair, in terms of did I reach my goal of recreating Coca-Cola, I will give this a 6.5 out of 10. Like, it's definitely recognizable, but it's just not quite there yet. But as a drink by itself, like a solid 8.5. 8.5? Yeah, 8.5 is fair. It's not blowing me away like the Sprite and Fanta did, which honestly just tasted better than what I tried to recreate, but it's still really solid. So if you guys ever wanna, create a competitor to the Coca-Cola company, now you know how. And if you decide to do so, please snap a picture, tag me on Instagram. I always love seeing those, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video. You can taste its humble beginnings as orange juice. Oh.